fact that we want to talk about activism, black voter suppression.
Estes gajos são aqueles gajos que fazem o forte, Martinez.
He is an activist, a scholar, and an all-around gentleman.
Hey, Martinez,
so spending some time with us. Bun, I don't want to start heavy, but I guess it's heavy as hell. And when you think about what needs to happen in this country in terms of change, what's the first thing that you think of?
Equality. That's pretty much the first thing that comes to mind, right? Black people need to be seen as equals.
Fones da HyperX,
we have
mano.
to fight just to be recognized as a full citizen in this country, and
not
not 3/5.
The world is now seeing what we've known. One way that we can fight is obviously voting.
Obrigado, Gabriel. Obrigado. Como é que é, Gabriel? Hoje, Gabriel.
It doesn't make a difference. If that's true, why do they work so hard to suppress the black vote? Because
Olá, Mamed.
that black people collectively also understand the power of their vote, and not just on a national level, because a lot of times we only have this conversation every 4 years. People need to be very much involved in their local politics. They need to understand who their elected officials are, where they stand on issues that affect you, and you need to use your vote to either support the ones that care about you and your condition, or to
Martinez.
Right, so in the state of Texas, if you're a felon, right, if you go to jail or to prison, but you're no longer on probation or parole, you have the right to register.
Eu vou tentar não ser chato. Mano, não comenta.
Which is happening not just in Houston, but all over the country. If you're in jail currently,
vamos fazer falar mais, mano.
During pre-trial, but you have not been convicted, like you're still in jail waiting for your day in court, you are still eligible to vote.
And you said something so key. They work so hard to hope that we stay uninformed, but more importantly, to suppress the black vote. If you could do one thing with this message that we're trying to send today about how important voting is, what type of images would you like our people to understand and see when they go to these polls and vote, or when they cast their ballots?
I think the images that we've all seen, you know what I'm saying, for decades in this country, if not centuries in this country, we've seen black people oppressed, we've seen black people attacked. So every time you see those dogs and people of color being sprayed with hoses, that's what they were fighting for. Back then, they were just fighting for a chance.
Martinez, o que é que estás a fazer,
People like
mano?
Martin Luther King Jr., people like Malcolm X.
These
people
Eu sei.
died to help us
mas é muito próximo,
be
mano.
in a position to have the power that we have now, which is to be able to cast a vote and make a decision about the people that have controls over our lives. So, I mean, if you in your own community need a reason to vote, look at a person like George Floyd. If the people in your city are not open to police reform, are not open to having a conversation about defunding the police,
Ei, aqui dá o barulho da água, mano.
issues concerning economic equality, judicial equality, racial equality, right? If they're scared to say Black Lives Matter, you have the power to put people in those positions who do believe that Black Lives Matter, who do believe in racial equality, economic equality, judicial equality, right? Who see us as human beings. And if the people in your community don't feel that way,
daqui a 30 minutos
just vote them out. We don't have
esta festa royal vai acabar, mano. Diz-me que isto não vai demorar 30 minutos, mano.
And that is in our vote, and that is with our voice, and that's how we use our voice. I think of where we are right now. People say this is a particular moment, but it is a movement, not just a moment, it is a movement. Why, in your opinion, was it George Floyd's death? Why was that the chosen brutality for people to say, oh my God, black people are still oppressed in this country, and it is not fair?
I think it's twofold, Carrie. In so many different encounters between people of color and the police, there simply is no proof of what happened in the interaction. And so what happens is, in a court of law,
Mas tipo,
Martinez tends to lean towards the policeman's point of view.
Martinez.
Right? In this case, we saw very clearly what happened.
Martinez.
I think the other thing is due to the fact that everyone
Por que as pessoas ficaram chateadas porque um de segurança matou?
Porque ele matou ser racista, ele matou um preto.
Só por ter matado um preto é racista ou ele era mesmo racista?
É racista mesmo.
Como? O que é que ele dizia, o gajo? Não gosta de preto?
Matou a paulada a dizer não sei o quê. Sai daqui, este não é o teu país.
Então... Sim, já não.
and that is now defunding the police. That has been such a huge.
É uma coisa que estás a dizer, sai daqui, isto não é a tua casa, mano. Estás na tua casa e isto não é a tua casa. Oh my god.
All right, so most people, when they hear the term defund the police,
Tem nada a ver, o que é que eu acabei de dizer?
They're going to take away our police department. Nothing could be further from
Tem a ver, porque tipo,
defunding the
era onde o
police.
gajo morava e estavam a mandar de lá.
Even Houston, take for example, we had over $1 billion allocated to our police force. Now, what is that money being used for? Some of that money tends to be allocated towards riot shields, right? Pepper spray, right? That kind of thing. That's only used against the people that fund this budget. Right? So why would the people want to supply the police with the means to oppress them? If the police are concerned about the situations in certain communities with a higher crime rate, well, higher crime rates tend to happen in communities where there's not employment opportunities, right? There's not a lot of social services, and people are going to do what they need to do to take care of themselves and their families. When the community has more opportunities for employment, more opportunities for upward mobility, then they tend to be less of a strain on the government. They tend to have a lower crime rate. And because of that, we'll have less need for the police in those communities.
You are passionate about so many different.
Well, right now, obviously, being a part of More Than a Vote is essential. We're dealing with primaries in this country. I want to inform people because people are tired, they're angry, they're concerned, and they want information and they want action. And so we want to make sure that we give them the right information and lead them in the right direction. And we thank the people that do not look like us for standing with us right now because it's very important.
Oh, mano, Martinez, olha este gajo, mano.
Aren't black be involved.
A fazer de propósito para nós não coisarmos, mano. Há sempre estes gajos, mano. Que nervos.
They can go to enact change in their community. People need to know about how their city council runs. They need to know that they have the ability to speak when city council meets, to let them know that that's not the way that their city needs to be run. Those are not the places that they feel the money of their community needs to be allocated.
And Bubby, even a step further, they can run for office in their local community. They can run for positions. Like, people act like they leave it up to somebody else. If you're upset, it's not hard to get on the school board. It's not hard to be a part of the city council. It really isn't. And depending on how small your town is, you could be a mayor. It's the power is with the people, and we need to just know that that's happening.
Absolutely, and it's always been with the people. You know, if you look at Trayvon Martin's mother, Sabrina Fulton, right? She felt that there was a system of racism and a system of oppression that led to her son's death. And so what did she do? She ran for city council and she was elected city council. Our own former president, 44, Barack Obama, right? Started in the community as an activist, ran for an elected position, became senator, ran for another elected position, became president of the United States. So don't think that you can't make a difference. You know what I'm saying? You don't need a lot of money. You don't need a lot of power. Your voice is enough to make a difference.
Amen. I feel like I need to go out and run for something. You gave me a rousing speech there, sir. I'd be remiss if I didn't ask you this.
Ei, não, fiz merda.
My brothers, I have to ask you as a
brother, atrás de mim, não.
Are you okay?
I'm good. I'm good. I have a relationship with God, so prayer definitely works for me. I have children and grandchildren who are watching.
Olá, mamãe. Oi, mamãe. Sei que és tu. Impossível não seres tu. És o único que gosta de Filipe Neto. Imagina ser Filipe Neto de verdade, está a brincar. Eu gosto. Quase nunca o vejo, mas gosto.
So our next guest, I have to admit, I'm a fan, but there are so many different people that we could talk on the huge successful show Insecure, HBO's Insecure. She also has a comedy special highlighting her Nigerian roots, and she's an amazing podcaster. Let's welcome in Yvonne Orgy, everyone. You have such a beautiful way
Hey,
of making things funny, giving us our medicine with some candy, right? The humor and the healing. You bring all of that to your space. And right now, as you look across this country and how everyone is so broken and so upset, if it's not social injustice, it's the pandemic, it's depression, it's unemployment, the list goes on and on. How are you doing, quite frankly?
olá, momento.
Mm.
Fala, tua mamãe.
You know what? And I think that's what everybody is saying about 2020. It's demanding that we be better. And you said it's a global timeout. What do you mean by that? Yeah. The minorities, we've been comfortable with being uncomfortable because that to me explains just the existence for whatever we want to do, how we break into our careers, how we live our lives, how we find ourselves one of the few or one of the first. And that's a lonely road. When you look at and when you talk about this global timeout, everybody had to pay attention to Amy Cooper, everyone had to pay attention to George Floyd. How is that helping us as a people, as a country during our global timeout? Yeah. Yeah, right. Yeah, you're right. You're right. Mhm.
Fala-te. Tens cabelo nenhum. Yeah, saiam.
but it's all right because we're going to, by amputating the leg, we're going to save the body. And so I think that's what's happening now. Like America is realizing, like, oh, black people aren't just making a little bit of noise. Like the protests are still out. The conversations are still being had. The change is still being demanded. And I think they're seeing, oh, this is not going no way. And no, it's not because we need systematic change.
What a beautiful way to explore what is happening and describe our country. We might have to amputate the leg, but that's to save the body. That's what's happening right now. That's beautiful, Yvonne. And to that end, I have to ask you this because the way that we do that, we use our voice. And our voice right now in this world, in this country, is our vote. And everyone talks about voting and how important it is, but I feel like more than ever we understand that it's not just about voting every 4 years for the man in office. It's about your local elections. It's about the mayor. It is about the district attorney, the people who have the power to bring charges against police if police brutality is an issue in your community. If you care about your school district, you can run for the school board. I ask this of you, right? Your parents are from Nigeria. You are Nigerian. You talk about that very lovely.
Tigas.
What does voting mean for you?
I think voting is power. I remember,
Estou a atrapalhar a gravação. Martinez, se quiseres te juntar é na boa.
Onde é que estás?
Estou aqui à tua frente a saltar num gajo de gato. Estou a atrapalhar ele a ver. Ele já se mexeu.
Olha, vou para a Twitch ver eles a jogar Lua.
Do we have the opportunity to be in this country, but now we can be of the country.
Ela mudar de skin.
Skin é que vai ser.
Of the rules, we can be of what it actually is.
Ele vai ser burra, a voltar-se para cima. Olha. What?
Just the setup of systems.
Que é para nós não sabemos quem é ele.
Ganda sei.
Whatever it is, and I'm not putting teachers on blast. I think
Eu vou ser patada.
for some reason, we do
Mesmo
not
se ele for.
and give them all the raises. I know too many parents who are like, this child of mine, I do love them, but hey, who? Where can I
Ficar comigo à minha frente a saltar. Eu sim
Ah, vou fazer aquilo assim, que ele fica a olhar para mim.
we talk about every 4 years. It's important to vote for the presidency. We don't realize, like, oh,
Não está a ver nada, mano.
we can vote about like how much our libraries get. It's like small things like that, but they make a big difference.
When you think of voter suppression in this country, what does it look like for you?
É visto que a gente está a fazer uma live.
When we talk about voter suppression, we also talk about systematic racism, right? It's all the systems that set up. And we've normalized, okay, maybe your job will give you a half day, or maybe, you'll be able to get
Salta,
this
salta.
It shouldn't be a luxury. It should be built into the system. It should be built into the fabric of how
Olha, a skin que ele está, eu curto, não é por nada. Tu curtes, Martinez?
Disenfranchised, marginalized Black person has to endure in a day. So in a day, you need to get to work. If something happens to your car, if something happens to your child care,
Não é, Martinez.
there's so many factors along the way that can send you into a tailspin as an American. And then you add on as a person of color. If you're just trying to get to vote, and you already have to go through all of these hurdles and hoops in your everyday
Ele está a fazer de conta que está a ficar, pá. Ele pensa que nós somos burros.
Vamos atrapalhar a de outro.
Olha ele a pensar que nós. Olha ele olhar para lá, olha ele olhar para trás.
How do we keep hope though? If
Vou
I'm
para o
watching
Twitch.
this right now, I wanna
Fica sem
how do we
você,
get to
minha
how do we
figurinha.
believe the promise that these quote unquote forefathers have given us?
Because have you met Black people? By default, like hope is infused in our DNA. Like you know, like if we haven't been broken now through slavery, through capitalism,
Give it to me.
colonization, through segregation, through the history of Black people in this country is at one point we were 3/5 people.
Mm-hmm.
That was a written law. And look at us now. We are whole. We are Black girl magic. We are Black boy joy. We are, what I'm saying? What I think about in terms of giving us hope, right? We're making a lot of people nervous right now, Carrie. We're making a lot of people nervous right now because they're like, dang, we put all these obstacles in their way, and these jokers are resilient. But that should give us hope. That should give us hope that like we can't stop, won't stop. I mean, I went to the school of Diddy. You know what I'm saying? Hashtag, Harlem shaking it right now. Can't stop, won't stop. And I, and